This is the city chicken recipe of my mom, Mary Weber. In front of you see the basic ingredients that you need. You'll see the meat over there. I've only spent about $7.50 for that cuts. Notice though there are light and dark. That's what I like because the dark meat gives a little bit more flavor. You see 2 cans of golden mushroom soup. Make sure it's Campbell's and make sure you have 2 cans. You'll see some city chicken sticks, which you can get from a butcher or ask at the store at the meat counter. And then you see some breadcrumbs. I like to add and use the Italian breadcrumbs normally, but today I'm also going to be adding some panko breadcrumbs to give it a little more crispiness. You need some eggs for egg wash, oil to fry some in there, and then you're going to see the pan. I make sure that the pan's big enough that I think can fit all the city chickens. Okay, now I'm ready to start cubing up the meat. So I'm going to slice it open and I'm going to start. I cube it. If there's parts that are too fat, I usually will cut that away for scraps. And I don't waste it. I actually fry it up and then I'll throw that with some of the dog food as a little treat for them. So start cutting them and I'm going to cut them into cubes. Okay, now we'll be continuing to do that process. I'm finding the last one and I'm cutting off a little bit of the fat here. You can see some of the other scraps I have sitting on the right. So this is my last piece I'm cutting into the cubes, and we'll be going on to the next step. So that's that. Next I want to start skewering the meat, and I try to take light and dark pieces to get a little bit on each stick. Again, I think the darker meat has a little bit more fat in it, a little more flavor, so I try to alternate between light and dark if I can make sure I have enough to kind of put it on there. And what I'm going to simply do is I'm going to continue this process until I have all the meat used up. And then the next step after this, after I have all the skewers, I will then season. Sometimes I will season the meat beforehand. Okay, now I've laid my cubes out on some paper towels here. I'm just going to start seasoning them. Real simple seasoning: salt, pepper, and today I'm going to use a little bit of onion powder. You don't have to. You could use garlic powder. You could use any other spices you want to put on it. But I'm just using these 3 simple spices: salt, pepper, and some onion powder. So I'll season the one side here and then I'll flip them. Again, a lot of times I will put the cubes in the fridge overnight, season them, and put the cubes pre-seasoned, let them sit and kind of marinate overnight. I think sometimes it actually tastes better that way, but in this case I didn't have time to do it, so I'm just going to simply season it now. I'm all seasoned, and these are my stations. I have some flour, just regular old flour, egg wash. I put 3 eggs, beat them up with a little bit of water, and there's my breadcrumbs. I have the Italian, and I also put in some of the panko. So now I'm simply going to start the process, and first I'm going to kind of roll the cube into flour, put it into the egg wash, and then I'm going to put the breadcrumbs on. Keep sure I'm pressing them down and turning them to make sure all the cubes are coated. And usually in this process I have to add more breadcrumbs as I move along and use the breadcrumbs up. So now I'm simply going to do that to all the cubes. Again, flour, egg wash, and breadcrumbs. Now that I have everything breaded, I'm going to very quickly make the sauce, if you want to call it that. All this is your 2 cans of golden mushroom soup and 2 cans of water. That's it. So first I'll put the first can in, get all the soup out, get my cup of water with it, can of water I mean, I'm sorry. Do the second can, and kind of once I get the second can in here, I want to stir it a little bit to kind of dissolve the soup. And once I have this ready to go, I'm then going to fry the city chickens. And again, I want to fry them so that the breading sticks to the city chicken when you stick it into this pan of soup sauce, whatever you want to call it. Now that I have them all breaded, I always make a couple of these called dough balls, and I make these dough balls just the egg and the leftover crumbs, and I use that as my test. And again, there's the oil. It tested okay, so now I'm simply going to put in the kebabs here, whatever you want to call them. Notice I try to go about half the oil so it covers about halfway. Now remember, I am not cooking these. All I'm doing is browning the outside because I want the breading to stick. If you don't do this and just put them in the sauce, then when you do that, the breading would just fall off. Okay, I'm letting them fry. I simply turn them over. I'm checking them, making sure that they're getting browned. And then as soon as I think that they are brown enough and it doesn't take that long, I'll then shake off the excess oil and kind of put them into the sauce, which simply again is just the 2 cans of soups and 2 cups of water. Okay, my second batch is just about done. So now again, I'll shake off the excess oil, completely put those in there. And I'm now ready to get them into the oven. I set the oven to 350. And then after I do that, I simply go and place some tin foil over the top, and I'll put that in the oven for about 2 hours. And what I like to do is about an hour and a half into it, I like to take the foil off. You don't have to, but I like to take the foil off for the last half an hour. And what I also like to do is sometimes when this stuff starts cooking, it kind of bubbles over. So I like to put a pan underneath it just in case you get an overflow coming up there. And you can see here, I have the top, I have the city chicken in there, and I just put that pan below it just in case there's any drippings coming over the side of that pan. Again, I usually let it go for that hour and a half, then take the foil off when you're done. There you go. You got a lot of gravy, and I usually make mashed potatoes or some kind of vegetable with it. I like to have corn with it, and that's Mom's City Chicken.